How to resolve one-sided groin pain that appears because asymmetrical position of your pelvis. So I'm going to explain few techniques and deep biomechanical reason behind that strain of your inner part of the thigh. Particularly in this video, I'm going to talk about right-sided pain because two sides of the human body are not acting similarly. Hence, if you have a left-sided groin pain or iliacus pain, hip flexor pain, I'm urging you to watch the video with my online patient, Chris, with whom we resolved that problem. And I also demonstrated a lot of techniques there. Now, if we are talking about this problem, most of the time pain is getting worse when you are sitting for a very long period of time, especially in the car or when you are walking on a long distance. You're starting to notice that this pain in the right inner thigh is getting built up more and more, down to the point when you just cannot walk anymore. So the same happened to my previous online patient, Toby, who used to have this right groin pain, and we successfully resolved that issue with PRI.
I still never experienced the groin pain anymore. Not till this day, no. I don't feel nothing there.
We have to be very clear about the reason for your inner thigh or groin pain because not all of the reasons are coming from AIC pattern or pelvis asymmetry. But today I'll focus mostly on musculature tension and postural imbalances related pain to your inner thigh. In some cases, I would have to say even structural changes like osteoarthritis or hip impingement can be partially managed through the PRI. The same goes for pudendal pain. In fact, I already recorded a video with a Ukrainian patient who used to have a pain in his genital area.
As soon as my lumbar and sciatic pain started to vanish, I also noticed a significant improvement in my ballsack pain. Actually, there is no more pain in the ballsack area anymore.
Nonetheless, here we can see a symptoms checklist that I usually observe among my patients that indicates that your pain is related to AIC pattern. The most frequent one is that you also have pain elsewhere in your back or even in your neck that you never truly connected to your right inner thigh tightness. But these things are very tightly connected and related to each other. Today you will see two different people who had the same groin pain, but for two different reasons. The first one, Toby, was having pain related to rotational asymmetry of the pelvis. The second patient, Douglas, developed the same pain, but due to inability to shift properly from right to left.
What's it been, 3 months? I feel pretty great after 3 months over years of other methods that didn't do anything.
So there are two main causes, common causes, of your right inner thigh, right groin strain. Well, actually there are a lot more, but what I see on a common basis all the time, you have either the problem of rotation when your bones, pelvic bones, are being positioned towards the right on the stationary femur and overactive left muscles are pulling your pelvis in that stage, so that every time when you are stepping on the right heel, you cannot do so-called right AFIR, when the right pelvis moves on the top of the stationary fixated right femur with the right gluteus maximus. Due to you getting stuck in specific pattern one way or another, your right glute max loses its ability to properly create right hip external rotation or so-called right AFIR. That leads to your pelvis inability to rotate fully during the walk towards the left. This is exactly what happened to my previous patient Toby. His brain got stuck into a very unique AIC pattern which turned his pelvis towards the right and overloaded a bunch of muscles including right inner thigh muscles. You can watch entire explanation in my previous video.
Yeah, the lower right, down here, inner right of my groin. And I would say, to be honest with me, if not all of my back, definitely it felt like the whole right side of my body was just constantly in pain. It just felt like it was constantly scrunched up.
Now the pelvis is positioned to this direction and these inner groin muscles are being habitually placed into the contracted position, into the pain, because they cannot truly get off. They're always on and busy. So inability to have right AFIR with right gluteus maximus was the exact reason of pain of my patient Toby from previous video, and after 5 months or so we completely diminished that pain. There is no adductor or groin pain at this point anymore. So for that matter, you have to train progressively your right buttock to do certain movements so that the right pelvis slowly will restore the ability to do so-called right AFIR. So lie on the left side of your body, and you kind of already seen that exercise before, but here is the modification. Feet should be on the cylinder or some kind of elevation. You cannot put your feet on the floor like this, okay? Just for the sake of feeling the necessary muscles. The next step, right foot should be ahead of the left one, just gently, and in between your feet should be a gap, like so. Now, pull the right knee forward and slightly up so that the right knee is higher than your right hip. And press with your right outer part of the heel, not arch, right outer part of the heel into the wall simultaneously. So right knee higher than my right hip, right heel is pressing into the wall. I'm feeling aggressive contraction of my right buttock, and you should feel it as well. Now keep in mind that the left obliques should be engaged, so move those ribs off the floor. Alternatively, you can roll up a towel and put underneath the left abdominal wall to induce that contraction. They cannot be attached or touching the floor. Move them up gently, crunch the left side. Now final movement is you are connecting the left knee with the left thigh like this. And you're just holding the entire exercise, the entire tension, left inner thigh, right outer hip, left obliques, and you are breathing. Don't arch your lower back. Relax. However, there is a second reason. When the right pelvic floor is being raised up, so the right femur is getting closer to the middle line automatically, which puts your adductors also into the contraction. Even though you're stepping on the left leg, the right pelvis cannot fall downwards, which would create the optimal position for right abductor to work, but it remains consistently hiked up like this. Yes, and that positioning set the stage for your adductors and right groin muscles to be constantly on, which is the reason why my another patient, Douglas, had developed this right groin strain.
What's it been, 3 months? I feel pretty great after 3 months over years of other methods that didn't do anything.
In this short video clip, my patient is exercising proper neurological left stance, and he holds in his head around 10 details all the time, which makes this movement very hard and challenging. Thus, he has a lot of blind spots. He doesn't realize why he don't feel necessary muscles. After I told him to do few adjustments, look what happened. And it looks better, the way it should be. It looks right. I can tell you just from the look that it works much better.
Holy hell. Yeah, that works much better. Whoa, that's wild. I already feel different. The smallest adjustment makes the world of difference.
Yes, and the entire postural restoration is like that. Small adjustments. So that's why never in the world, patient like you or patient who have the same problem like you have can deal with that problem on their own.
And I have years of experience to say that too, to prove that.
Yeah. If you have postural related chronic pain that you just cannot get rid of, I can help you to get out of that pain. But firstly, I have to figure it out whether you are a perfect match for my online coaching program, 101. So click the link below or just email me, describe your situation, send me the video of your walk, pictures of your posture. Everything will be anonymously from my end, or you just can cover your face so that I can identify what would be the next step for you to fix your situation.
Another reason for your right inner groin tightness is inability to properly abduct the right leg out during the appropriate position of the pelvis. So let's restore that frontal plane motion and position of our hips and pelvis.
So lie on the left side of your body and flex the left leg towards 90 degrees. Place a soft object underneath your left ankle because it should create a subtle elevation of that ankle. Later on, you will press that foot into that object. However, the right leg has to be semi-flexed. It means not as flexed as the left leg, but not fully extended with the line of your body. Something in between those two conditions. A very important detail, the right foot should be anchored with the floor with the right inner arch. After you have established all these steps together, do the following. Round your lower back, compress the left abdominal wall by moving your left hip up, and lastly, roll your right hemipelvis a bit forward so the zipper line will be pointing the left leg. Finally, when you are holding all of these steps together, lift your left knee up and lift your right knee up as well. If done correctly, you should feel the left inner thigh and right outer buttock working together. The most common mistake is to not set up properly your right hip socket. What it means, if you don't feel the right gluteus medius working, but instead you feel tension in your groin or hip flexors, you have to adjust your position of the right hip socket. Once again, round your lower back, compress the left hip up. You actually can place something underneath your left abdominal wall to create that artificial compression. And don't forget to roll your right hemipelvis forward towards the direction of your left leg.
Now, it's not enough for you just to do certain basic movements from YouTube and hope for changes. Yes, you may start to feel better, but in all essence, if you being in that state, in that pattern, pain, for a very long period of time, you have to restore your gait from the scratch. That's why there are certain phases and progression table of the exercises has to be introduced. But in fact, I know because a lot of patients are coming back to me after some PRI physical therapists and they are showing me which exercises they've been provided by their physical therapists, and no wonders why they are still struggling. Some of them are still getting stuck on the very beginning level movements and cannot feel certain muscles, or they feel IT band, they feel hip flexors instead of the glute, or too much of the quads instead of the glute, or whatever function they're trying to restore, they don't feel the necessary muscle. Because if you cannot feel necessary muscles even on very early stages of this isometric static exercise, how on earth your body can utilize these muscles when you are walking 10 to 15,000 steps per day, or when you are playing sports with very big demand on your body? There is zero chance. The pain will always come back. Firstly, you have to select properly on the early stages proper exercises because of proper examination was done properly again. Then, once you started to slowly feel necessary muscles, you are slowly progressing further. And each step of the way, you have to feel the necessary muscles. Yet you cannot bypass certain phases of therapy because you think you are very smart or because you think you are very prepared. No, your neurology cannot be cheated on. You cannot cheat on your brain. You're still not going to establish proper positioning of your hips during the walk. That's why it takes for so long, like 3 to 4 to 5 months. You cannot speed up the process in most of the time. But this is how I do work. This is my framework of my protocol, the way I work with patients. As I mentioned, not many therapists are establishing these kind of things for whatever reason, and I'm going to cover this reason in my future video.
So that says a lot right there. If I'm willing to work with somebody that long over a virtual call, that says a lot right there. And versus when I could just drive down the street and go to the PRI therapist within the area I'm in, from being in a different state in Texas, and it's still not working out for me, all in person. So I would say the thing that not only not just drew me but kept me in was your approach is different in a way where it's more curated. You actually have done the exercises that you're prescribing for the symptoms that you're prescribing, and you have a structure and a program that's more curated to the individual so we can get to the actual roots of the issues. It's at a point where I'm willing and I would rather have an online coaching call. It doesn't have to be in person with somebody like him that is very curated to their approach and is a teacher that teaches and allows you to understand and comprehend what you're doing in a way that can actually make tangible results in your pain and your lifestyle. And that is that's the best thing that you could ask for, because that actually helps you improve whatever situation you're in.